Assalamu alaikum, dear executives and Juma Mubarak to all of you. Today we are going to start chapter 10, which is about coordination in a supply chain. Okay, our learning objectives are first, describe supply chain coordinations and the bullwhip effect and the impact on the supply chain performance. Second is identify obstacles to coordination in a supply chain. Third is discuss managerial levers that help achieving coordination in a supply chain. And the last one is understand some practical approaches to improve coordination in a supply chain. Okay, let's jump into today's lecture. So the lack of supply chain coordination and its impact on the performance. And I think by now we are very much familiar with and we understand the importance of supply chain coordinations because supply chain coordination is the crucial for successful business processes. So supply chain coordination at all stages of the chain takes actions that are aligned and increase the total supply chain surplus. So all the processes, all the stages are crucial and they help us to achieve the supply chain surplus. It requires that each stage share information and take into account the effects of its actions on the other stage. So the crucial things are how we are sharing the information from, or how the information is being shared from one stage to another. And this helps us to align all the supply chain processes. Okay, lack of coordination results when objectives of different stages conflict. And today in today's lecture, we will see like why the different stages objectives may be different. Like the wholesalers might have their own vested interest, the suppliers might have their own vested interest, the manufacturers they will have their own interest, and there are chances that there can be a conflict of interest, and because of the conflict of interest, we might see a bullwhip or other effects. So we'll look into it later today. Information moving between stages is delayed or distorted. So in today's world, we know that the key to success is the information and timely information. So sometimes we get misleading kind of information from our suppliers or our wholesalers or retailers. So let's again recall what is supply chain in different stages. Say there's a supplier and from supplier, say we are as a manufacturer, and from manufacturer it goes to the say wholesaler, and from wholesaler it may go to other wholesalers or the retailer, and then it will go to the customer. Okay, so this is what we are talking about, that the supply chain coordination should be like on all these stages, it should be very smooth and it should be very timely. Okay, let's see the bullwhip effect. What is bullwhip effect and how it is going to affect our overall supply chain. Basically, it's the fluctuations in order to increase as they move up this supply chain from retailers to wholesaler to manufacturers to suppliers. Let us draw it again, this supply chain process, then we can understand this again. So this is supplier. Again, we have here manufacturer, and then wholesaler. Please apologize me for this kind of writing. We can have retailer and then the customer is going to come at the end. So what is the fluctuation in order to increase? So what happens? How many customers they come to the retailer? They create a kind of a demand. Based on that demand, the retailer will make some orders. So the quantity that retailer will going to request is going to be different. Customers might be buying it the quantity of one. The retailer might be buying a quantity of say 100, and the wholesaler's quantity demanded would be some say 1,000. And manufacturer might also make order in quantity of like tons or something like, So why there can be a distortion? Distorts demands information with the supply chain. Why? Because when the retailers will be like close to the finish of 100, then they will make an order. So they are not giving us the real information about the customers and what is happening with the customer needs and wants. Similarly, wholesaler will make their own orders based on their own quantity, not on the basis of the customer's demands. So it results from a loss of supply chain coordination. And this effect increases when we go backward. So that's why it's very crucial for the manufacturer to understand the real customer's behavior and customer demands, and that's how he or she they will be in command to make the right kind of production for the season or that particular time. Okay, this graph is going to explain us the bullwhip effect in a very better manner. So see the level of demand from the customers, consumers, okay, and the time. So demand, and this is like very smooth and it is like consistent. Okay, now we can see from the retailer they make demand on a like some time gap. As I told you, they say their demand is on 1 unit, just for the sake of example, and their demand is like say 100 units. Now they're gonna make a demand after say every 4 days or every 9 days they make another demand. Okay, so because they will make a demand when their 100 units are like finished or something like that, or to be honest this is like 300 units, so it's a 300 units that they want to carry with them. Okay, so keeping things in mind that their demand is going to be made not on the basis of the customer's demand but on the basis of their own inventory. Then we'll look at the wholesalers orders. Wholesaler orders time is delayed. So if they're making like in 3 days, and their orders comes after like 5 days, and their quantity is again like they will order like 400 or something in that range. Okay, and then the manufacturer's orders, they are also changing, and the size of and the quantity of the order is also changing, and this will have an effect on the suppliers. Okay, so this tells us like the nature of demand at different stages is different, and this demand basically sends a signal to the next stage about the customer behavior, and this can be misleading, as we saw that the stage they are making orders based on their own inventory, not on based on the real customer's behavior. Okay, let's see the effect on performance. So the lack of coordination increases variability and hurts the supply chain surplus. The more the variability, the more it's going to negatively affect the supply chain surplus. So it can have an impact on the cost, like manufacturer cost is going to increase, the inventory cost might increase, and they might have replenishment time lead will increase. It will have an impact on transportation cost because you are not managing the inventory on a proper time, or probably you are transportation cost because you are not managing the inventory on a proper time, or probably you are getting the inventory on small bulks, like as I told you in the previous lecture. Say on one truck you can get 20 ton of material, and imagine it was only 10 ton of material that was ready with the manufacturers. So you're getting 10 ton on a truck, and so that is inefficiency. So you'll have to send 2 times the same truck to buy this product to purchase, or so it's going to increase your transportation cost. Labor costs for shipping and receiving will also be increased. A level of product availability will decrease, and relationship across the supply chain management will also be not very positive and will be uh, like very challenging because everybody is struggling to meet the demands of the customers. Here they have given us in the same way which we discussed in the previous slide. So manufacturing costs will increase. Obviously, inventory cost will also increase, and replenishment cost will increase. Replenishment time, transportation cost will increase. Shipping and receiving cost will also increase. A level of product availability will decrease, and profitability will also be decreased. So that's why it's very crucial that all the supply chain stages must coordinate each other and they have a very smooth relationship with each other. So summary of this first topic is that supply chain coordination requires all stages to take action that maximize total supply chain profits. A lack of coordination results if different stages focuses on optimizing their local objectives, or if the information is distorted, it moves across the supply chain. The phenomenon that fluctuation in order to increase, and as one moves up the supply chain from retailers to wholesaler to manufacturer to supplier, is referred as a bullwhip effect. This effect results in an increase in the cost in the supply chain and a decrease in customer service level. The bullwhip effect moves all parties in the supply chain away from the efficient frontier and results in decreasing of both customer satisfaction and profitability with the supply chain. Okay, this gave us a very good summary of the topic that we just covered. Now let's look into the obstacles to coordination in a supply chain. Okay, first obstacle can be incentive obstacles. Gosh, incentives are the incentive that on every stage we give it to the other stakeholder, like the incentive that the supplier gives to the manufacturer, or the manufacturer that gives to the wholesaler, and the wholesaler the incentive that give to the retailers. We'll look into it how it's going to negatively affect the overall supply chain process. Information processing and obstacles, operational obstacles, pricing obstacles, and behavioral obstacles. Okay, what do we mean by incentive obstacles? Why it can be counterproductive for the whole supply chain process. So it occurs when incentives offered to different stages or participants in a supply chain leads to actions that increase variability and reduce the total cost supply chain efforts, like local optimization within functions or stages of a supply chain. It means like In your manufacturing system, in manufacturing department, we have Salesforce department, sales department. We might have a procurement department, we have production manufacturing department, production department. Okay. Now everybody in this stage, they will try to maximize their output. So sales will try to increase their sales. Procurement department will procure products at discounted price, and so they will create a pressure for on the manufacturing department. So manufacturing department will try to achieve their targets which have been set for them. So this whole process will increase product surplus, so that you're going to have a number of productions, and ultimately you will be stuck to sell this to the next level. So local optimization means like within the company as well, there are different departments. They are just trying to maximize their output, and sometimes in order to pursue their local targets, they forget the bigger picture, and they might not be able to see the customers and demands. So they might be producing extra inventory products, which can be go redundant, or they might face obsolescence. You might increase the inventory carrying cost. Similarly, Salesforce incentives and in different stages, like and technically it is very good weapon to sell your products, but it can be counterproductive. Like your wholesalers or retailers, they might purchase product in a large quantity, and for that they will not be making an order. Like in the previous graphs, we saw, like, say the wholesalers were making order after, say, 5 days. So because they have purchased so much inventory, now they will be going to make an order after 10 days. So this will give us a backward information that the customer's demands have gone down, but in reality the customer's demands are consistent. Okay, so this might give us a false information, and this because of this false information, probably the manufacturer will not be making the products as per the demand of the customers. So that's why incentives can also be counterproductive, and there is required to be making specific kinds of incentive that they should be linked directly with the customers' purchase and not to the manufacturers or wholesalers and how much they are like buying the product. So it should be directly linked with the customers' purchases. Okay, the second important crucial dimension is information processing obstacle. So, and we understand this whole process is based on the information of the products that are being bought, is based on the information of the products that are being bought in a runtime. So the better idea would be if we can get the real information of the real-time customers, like how much they are purchasing. It can give us a good control on the manufacturing. Walmart is considered to be one of the leading example in the world that they introduced the technology, and based on the technology they were guiding the manufacturers to what to produce, what not to produce, and how much quantity to produce, because Walmart had a real data of the customers, a real runtime data. So when demand information is distorted as it moves between different stages of the supply chain, it leads to increased variability in order to within the supply. So forecasting based on orders and not customers' demand. So imagine the customer demand. This is the end of the season, and let's say it's end of a spring, and the fall season is about to start, and the orders they have are generated. They were like for the previous season. Now the manufacturers are trying to manufacture for the spring season, but the season has changed, and now the customers' demands are moving toward the winter season. So ideally, the manufacturer should be working on the winter season clothing as compared to the spring season. But it's because of the false data, they might be producing or manufacturing the wrong kind of item. So this lack of information sharing, because the information is distorted at different stages, it can lead to this kind of an issue. Then we can also experience operational obstacles that occur when the placing and filing orders lead to an increase in variability. So when, as we discussed, that in different stages when they are ordering in a large lots, this gives us information that there's a demand of the customers is increasing. Similarly, large replenishment lead times, they also will give you an indication that the product is in demand and the customers are demanding it. Similarly, rationing and shortage gaming. So rationing is a great way in which you just give a quota to your wholesalers, and you just try to see them if they are following the same pattern of demand as they were following in the last year. Because what happens is there's a shortage game. The shorting game is like your customers, say your retailers are your customers, and when they experience that there is going to be a shortage of the inventory, so they will make false inventory orders. For example, they normally demand like 500 units of, say, Almarais milk. So now they experience that there's going to be shortage, so they might order 1500 in order to stay safe. This is called shortage gaming. So what will they will feel like when the customers' demands will not go up and they are getting a consistent supply, they might change it to 500 and they might not take the extra 1000 in reality. So this is like a false kind of a order they generate, and that creates a pressure back on the wholesaler and on the manufacturer. So that's why it's important that the companies should do with rationing, means like they already have a quota set for each stage, and they should look into the data like how much they ordered last summer or last season. Like if they order like 500, 550 or 450. So based on their previous historical data, you can give them a rationing. Okay, we will manufacture 500 units for this. And this can help us to minimize these issues that might happen because of the operational obstacles. This graph over here can show us a better understanding of demand and order stream with orders every 5 weeks. So see, there we have the demand of the orders, and this is the weeks in times. So this gives us a steady flow of the demand. So we can say that we can just try to make a straight line, and it suggests us that there's going to be say 250, sorry, 25. Actually, I've got a small screen, so I cannot see it. So say 25, say it's million or whatever we call it. 25 million is an average demand, but the orders by the wholesalers can be different. Okay, so after say 4 weeks, they're going to make one order, and then after like on week 12, they will make another order. Then on week 14, they will make an order. These are the orders from our customer, and this is the demand. So there's a huge difference between the demand and orders, and the order size is also changing. Okay, so this is important for us to understand this dynamic so that we are able to provide the consistent delivery of products during the whole cycle. Okay, so we can also experience a pricing obstacle. It's when pricing policies for a product lead to an increase in availability of orders placed. So this is basically we are talking about the pricing discounts and all this stuff. So lot size based on quantity decision. If we say like buy two get one free, get one. So that will also increase the number of the orders, or sometimes they give incentive like if you get 500 units, the price will be this. If you get 1,000 units, the price will be decreased, and that will these incentives can be counterproductive for the manufacturing because they might stack extra inventory with themselves, and then they might not be. They might stack extra inventory with themselves, and then they might not be requiring the inventory in the next, the order time. If they make an order after 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So this is going to give us a distorted information, and that will also lead to a inefficiency in the different stages. So price fluctuation can also lead to the order size, and order size is also going to affect the overall information sharing and the surplus in the stages. Okay, this is going to give us a good idea about how the retailer sales and manufacturer shipment of the SESU. So this is time in weeks, and this is like shipments. So we can see a huge shipment on say week, I don't know, it's 25 or what. So why this huge quantity of shipment is required in this week? Probably because of the pricing change. So when they change the price from here, it has lead to a huge demand, and then you have to give this shipment, and then after that it becomes normalized and it goes down. Okay. Behavioral obstacles. These are the problems in learning within organization that contributes to the information distortion. So what is the learning pattern in our organization? So each stage of the supply chain views its actions locally and is unable to see the impact of its actions on the other stage. So wholesaler will be more concerned about their own business. Retailers will be concerned about their own businesses, and manufacturers will have their own targets, so they will not try to see the bigger picture, and they will not try to to pass on this information to the other stage, and this may lead to the inefficiency in the whole system. Similarly, different stages of the supply chain react to a current local situation rather than trying to identify the root cause. And any like political issue or any other weather or any different dimensions, they can trigger the sales. And when it will trigger the sales, there is going to be false information going back because of the order size will going to increase, and because of the order size, this might give a wrong message to the manufacturers, and the whole process may become inefficient. Similarly, different stages of the supply chain blame one another for the fluctuation. And this may be, again, the process that not realizing the importance of the customers and their needs and wants, just relying on the order size. Okay, so no stage of the supply chain learns from its actions over the time. And this happens because they are just having a pigeon approach. They are just don't want to see the bigger world. They just want to stay in their comfort zone, and they just try to meet their targets that they have set for themselves, and they they just ignore the bigger picture, and especially the competitors, the geopolitical situation, and the customer needs and wants. So this creates a lack of trust among supply chain partners. Uh, so what it happens is this causes them to opportunists at the expense of overall supply chain performance. So all the stakeholders will try to go for in a survival mode, and they will just try to make benefit from the other, and they will not pass on the risks that are associated with this kind of false information that is being shared at each stage. Okay, so learning of this session is that a key obstacle in coordination in the supply chain is misaligned incentives that results in different stages, optimizing local objectives instead of total supply chain profit. Other obstacles include a lack of information sharing, operational inefficiencies leading to large replenishments, lead times, and large lots, sales force incentives that encourages forward buying, rationing schemes that encourage inflation of order, promotions that encourage forward buying, and lack of trust that makes any effort towards coordination difficult. Okay, so what are the managerial levers to achieve the coordination? Basically, we'll have to have aligning goals and incentives in order to minimize this effect. Then improving information accuracy, improving operational performance, designing pricing strategies to stabilize orders, and building strategic partnership and trust. Let's look into each and every point. What do we mean by aligning goals and incentives? Aligning goals and incentives so that every participant in the supply chain activities works to maximize total supply chain profits. How we can align goals across the supply chain? We can align incentive across the functions, pricing for the coordination, and also we can alter sales force incentives from sales into the retailer to sales through by the retailer. What does it mean? Like sometimes we give incentives to the salesman for how much orders they generate from the retailer. And what happened is basically the salesman enjoys good relationship with the retailer, so they can ask them to buy extra inventory. So if their demand was like 500 inventory, they might ask them to buy 1000 inventory. This will help the salesman to achieve his target. But what happens is that this inventory will only be sold when the customer will buy it. So in the next time frame, the retailer is not going to make an order. So this is kind of a counterproductive incentive that we are giving to the salesman. So instead of giving incentive based on the retailer's order, we have to link it with the customers. So the orders that are being generated by the customer should be given a link to the sales force incentive instead of the orders by the retailer. That's what we are talking about. After sales force incentive from sell in to the retailer to the sell through by the retailer. That will give us a real picture of and the efforts by the sales force, and this is going to give us a real data on the customers' demands. Okay, so improving information visibility and accuracy. Excuse me. So assuring customers data and demand data. So we know that there are different softwares that are being used in different stages. So sometimes they might not be willing to share their data basis, but an ideal condition, all the stakeholders should be using the same kind of software that will give real-time data. So it is going to help us implementing collaboration, forecasting, and planning. So designing a single stage control replenishment data, we have like two options. One is continuous replenishment programs. Some of the companies, they follow this continuous replenishment programs in which the supplier is going to come and they will continuously be replenishing the products that are missing in the aisles or in inventories, and they will make sure that they are getting a consistent supply of the inventories. I say Almarai, they were just getting these, like they provide inventory to the wholesalers and retailers, and they're continuously providing them an option. So the number of items they will be demanding, so 5, 10, 7. This is going to give us an 5, 10, 7. This is going to give us an information about the customer demand. Contrary to that is another option that is called vendor managed inventory. So in vendor managed inventory, only the vendors like the supplier themselves, they will come and they will check the aisles and they will just try to manage it themselves. So they will have the access to the database, and based on the database, they will be managing inventory. And instead of the customer, say in this case, if it's the retailer, they should not be bothered about the replenishment. So that is to be done by the supplier themselves. So basically, the whole database is with the supplier. And this can be very effective for the supplier to understand the real demands of the customers. Okay, how we can improve operations to synchronize supply and demand. Reducing replenishment lead times will help us to coordinate effectively, reducing lot sizes. So the smaller the lot size is going to give us a real pulse of the customer demand, because we saw the lot size were like huge, and because of the huge lot size, it does not give us the changing customer demands pattern. So it is going to be effective for all of us. Rationing based on the past sales, ensuring information to limit gaming. So we already discussed, like when the retailers are in a gaming, they might order extra inventory and later on they might refuse to take the inventory. So the best idea is to do rationing based on their historical data, like past sales. Like say, if their past sales are 500 units, so you can make like 500 to 550 instead of they are making an order for 1500 or something. So that will going to make you save. Okay, designing pricing strategies to stabilize the orders. Encouraging retailers to order in a smaller lots and reduce forward buying. And this will be helping us to moving from lot size based to volume based quantity discounts. So if we were giving them lot size discounts, we should change it to the volume based, and so that it is going to give us the overall picture of the customer demands. And another one is that we should make sure that there is a stabilizing in the pricing. If there is a huge price fluctuation, that is also, like we know, the price is directly proportional to the demand for the not price elastic products. So the more we are going to stabilize the price, the more chances that we're gonna get the real picture of the demand as well. Okay, so we can also develop strategic partnership with our customers or in the whole this supply chain cycle. As we learned previously that there's a friend and foe relationship between different stages, so they blame each other for the inefficiencies. So instead of we treating each other as enemies, there is a good way that we should treat each other as partners. So it's easier to use levers to achieve coordinations if trust and strategic partnerships are built. So they should be sharing accurate information and they should lower transaction costs between the stages. And all parties must believe that the benefit of improved coordinations are being shared equally. And then they will have the win-win situation. Okay, how we can improve the coordination practices. So it's very important that the top management is committed in the coordination. And we need to devote resources to the coordination. Probably you might have to hire extra managers, or you have to develop some softwares so that and the coordination is very smooth. Focus on communication with other stages as well. That's it. The summary of this topic 3 is that managers can improve coordination in the supply chain by aligning goals and incentives across different functions and stages of the supply chain. Other actions that managers can take to improve the coordination include sharing of sales for information and collaborative in forecasting and planning, implementation of single point control of replenishment, improving operations to reduce the lead time and lot size, EDPL and other pricing strategies that limit forward buying, and building of trust and strategic partnerships within the supply chain. Top management commitment and devotions of resources to coordination and focus on communication across the supply chain are important requirements for the coordination to improve in practice. That's it. We are done with today's lecture. And if you have any questions, you are welcome to ask. I can stop.